from the series Introduction to Medical Device Regulation, Post-Market Surveillance for Medical Device Industries in the European Union, Responsibilities and Obligations. Welcome to this web-based training. Here we will summarize the main responsibilities for the implementation of post-market surveillance in medical device industries in the EU. The new Medical Device Regulation, the MDR, was introduced in April 2017 in Europe. This regulation declares that a manufacturer must have integrated in its quality management system a post-market surveillance system. A post-market surveillance system applies to medical devices intended to be or already placed on the market. But what is exactly a post-market surveillance system? The MDR defines it as all activities carried out by manufacturers in cooperation with other economic operators to institute and keep up to date a systematic procedure to proactively collect and review experiences gained from devices they place on the market, make available on the market, or put into service for the purpose of identifying any need to immediately apply any necessary corrective or preventive actions. The post-market surveillance aims to improve patient safety because it allows the identification of problems with the design, manufacturer, or use of medical devices. Post-market surveillance systems are usually divided in two big sections, reactive and proactive. Part of the reactive section of the post-market surveillance system is vigilance. It requires that a manufacturer take actions, called field safety corrective actions, when serious accidents occur on the market, and it describes in which case the manufacturer shall recall its products. Section 2 of Chapter 7 of the MDR obliges the manufacturer to report incidents to the relevant competent authorities. It describes how to submit those reports, and it requires the manufacturer to analyze their vigilance data. A common approach for manufacturers and notified bodies during the conformity assessment route is to follow a set of specific European guidelines called MedDev. Version 2.12 of these non-mandatory guidelines specifically refers to a vigilance system under the MDR. The proactive section of the post-market surveillance system aims to anticipate and govern events before they occur. The guideline for this is the new ISO 20416, which describes a proactive and systematic process that manufacturers can use in order to analyze and collect data from the field and to learn from the activities in the market. In fact, a big responsibility for the manufacturer is to be rigorous and to identify early on and detect potential product failures in the market. All of the medical device data collected from the field are actively and smartly elaborated in order to have a deep overview of the real-time performance of the medical device. These data can be collected in many forms, such as in user surveys, in manufacturer-sponsored clinical registry studies, or in post-market clinical follow-up studies. Article 84 of the MDR states that manufacturers should implement their post-market surveillance system in a dedicated post-market surveillance plan. This document shall describe how the manufacturers update their technical documentation and which actions they shall perform in order to cooperate with the national competent authorities in charge of vigilance and market surveillance activities. The manufacturer shall store information related to the post-market surveillance plan into the dedicated European database, EUDAMED. Article 33 of the new MDR describes all the registration requirements to be uploaded into the database. The main purpose of this database is to make public information about devices placed on the market, relevant economic operators, and corresponding CE certificates issued by the notified bodies. The MDR in Annex 3 describes which topics the manufacturer needs to cover in the plan in order to be compliant. For example, the manufacturers shall include all of the information related to vigilance, describe protocols for communicating effectively with the competent authorities, notified bodies, and economic operators. Define effective tools to trace and identify devices. Describe procedures used to deal with feedback and complaints from the user, and include an analysis of available data on side effects and similar devices, and how the manufacturers distribute and import the medical device on the market. In the plan, the manufacturers shall also describe, if necessary, the production of their post-market surveillance report and their periodic safety update report, and a description of their post-market clinical follow-ups. The post-market clinical follow-ups, PMCF, are part of the post-market surveillance system of a company, and they are described in a dedicated plan. The PMCF plan describes methods and procedures used for collecting and evaluating clinical data from the market in order to constantly confirm the safety and the performance of the device. The PMCFs are deeply connected to the clinical evaluation of the medical device. The clinical evaluation shall be periodically updated with the clinical data collected from the PMS through the PMCFs. The manufacturer shall ensure that any new emerging risk detected from the market is evaluated and the acceptability of the risk is still confirmed. Finally, any unknown side effect that the manufacturer detects in the market through the PMCFs shall be monitored, identified, and considered, as well as their contraindications. As part of the vigilance reporting, the new MDR introduced two new reports: the Post-Market Surveillance Reports, Pmsr, and the Periodic Safety Update Reports, Psur. The goal of these reports is to summarize all the data collected from the post-market surveillance and describe any corrective and preventive actions, CAPA, taken during the reporting period in relation to the device. The post-market surveillance report is described in the MDR in Article 85. It is a mandatory report for low-risk Class 1 devices. It is composed of results and conclusions of PMS data, along with a rationale and a description of any preventive and corrective actions. Only when it is necessary shall it be updated and made available on request. Article 86 of the MDR describes the Periodic Safety Update Report as mandatory for high-risk devices, such as those in Class 2A, 2B, and 3. The manufacturer shall include in this report all the information present in the PMS and add a summary of the market where the device is integrated in Europe, as well as information about the post-market and vigilance reports. The manufacturer shall then regularly update and send the report to the authorities to be examined. Manufacturers of Class 2A devices shall update the PSUR when necessary, and at least every 2 years. Manufacturers of Class 2B and Class 3 devices shall update the PSUR at least annually. Article 83 of the MDR declares that the post-market surveillance system is an integral part of the manufacturer's quality management system. In addition, ISO 3485, the standard that specifies requirements for a quality management system, describes in Chapter 8 that a manufacturer shall monitor information related to the customer and document procedures for complaint handling and the notification of complaints of adverse events to the regulatory authorities. In other words, it requires a manufacturer to have a structured and methodical post-market surveillance system in order to have a safe and regulated medical device on the market. Post-market surveillance shall be an integral part of the product's life cycle from the development to market in a continuous way focused on cycles of product safety improvement. During the early stage of development of a medical device, post-market surveillance should be considered. For example, how to collect information from the device on the market, and how the service team shall support the customer and generate reports must be considered as inputs for the design of a product. ISO 14971, related to the application of risk management to medical devices, is deeply connected with the product life cycle and the post-market surveillance. In the pre-market phase, the manufacturer must ensure that the probability and the severity of all damages of the medical device are addressed, that countermeasures have been taken, and all the residual risks are acceptable. This analysis shall be iteratively done by the manufacturer in the PMS phase when new risks emerge from the market. The manufacturer shall always ensure that the risk-benefit ratio analysis is benefit-orientated. The MDR has also enforced the relationship between the clinical evaluation and the post-market activities, forcing the manufacturer to proactively collect data and information and report analysis related to clinical safety. Post-market surveillance, vigilance, and market surveillance requirements of the MDR will apply starting on the 26th of May 2021. Here is a short reference table to use as a guideline for the PMS topic. We would like to thank you for your attention and to acknowledge the continuing support of VIT Health and the FAU Innovation Fund. More information on the certificate course Medical Device Regulation offered by the Friedrich Alexander University, Erlangen-Nuremberg, can be found on the homepage of the Central Institute of Medical Engineering at www.cimt.fau.eu.